Well, thank you very much, David Hazelton, for joining me today to talk about IMC 621, current topics in integrated marketing communications. To start our conversation, if you would, just share an overview of your career history and background, and specifically that prepared you to teach in the IMC program here at WVU.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently I'm the design director for a financial services company. So I'm responsible for all of the branded material in our owned and paid media. Prior to that, I was on the agency side and had a lot of government clients and associations, helping them to market their materials and to enhance their brands.
Great. So IMC 621 is connected to the in-person Integrate conference, and the course topics align with the speakers at that event, making it really the only course in the entire sequence that requires and can leverage the dynamics of in-person learning. What do you feel are the unique or defining characteristics of this course?
I think it's really unique because it is the only course in the program that has an in-person component at all. Secondly, Integrate is such a great conference, and to be able to have the sort of inside scoop or backstage pass to it, I think is a real advantage. You're going to get to hopefully speak with the speakers a little more in depth than you would as a regular attendee, and also have a session afterwards, just really talking about what you've learned and bringing that all full circle, being able to talk about it in real time as it happens.
Great. So in addition to the in-person component, can you talk about maybe how your approach to this course differs from the other IMC course you teach, which is IMC 610 Intro to IMC?
Yeah, this one is different because, well, it's in the name, current topics. So we really deal with things that are going on, not just in the last year or two, but sometimes in the last week or on that day. I did teach the course in the summer of 2020, which was a horrible summer for most people. We had, as you know, a pandemic, there was social unrest, racial injustice, all of these things going on. And we actually had an opportunity to learn about those in real time and see how brands were responding to those. Literally, the current events were sort of following the syllabus week by week. So when we talk about current topics, we're really talking about what's going on in the headlines at that moment, and how brands are responding to those things.
So that sort of brings me right into the next question I have, which are, what are the challenges of teaching a current topics course like IMC 621? Obviously 2020 being what it was is hopefully a year that we don't ever repeat, but just in general, what are the challenges of teaching a course like this?
Yeah, well, what 2020 was good for the course. It was not good for the country as a whole, as you know. I think one of the challenges is just keeping it current. So we do that with a lot of the readings. The articles and weekly readings are updated frequently for this course. So that's a bit of a challenge to always dig deep and try to find something that's really, really current. There are, of course, 3 textbooks for the course, but the real current reading comes from the articles that we update with every semester we teach it.
Right. So what are the top 3 takeaways that you hope students will get from taking IMC 621?
I think one of them is sort of the changing habits of consumers, because that changes so quickly, and we're seeing consumers sort of rejecting brands in terms of their messaging and their advertising, and really looking at brand values and looking for brands that have a point of view or a social conscience that shares that they share. That's going to come up a lot in this course as we look at brands that are sort of inserting themselves into social conversations, and sometimes rightfully so, and sometimes they're just trend jacking or news jacking and trying to jump onto a bandwagon. So we'll take a deep look at that, I think.
Great. So David, when students are preparing for their upcoming course schedule, they often ask us about workload intensity, and it's a question they ask so they can prepare and balance their graduate studies with all of life's other responsibilities. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the least intense and 5 being the most intense, how would you rate the IMC 621 current topics and IMC course? And then what made you give it that intensity rating?
I think IMC 621 would be a 3 out of 5. Of course, all of our courses have a high level of academic rigor, But 621 is not, it's not one of those over-the-top ones where you're building a big research paper over the course of the semester. Each week you have a writing assignment, but it's going to be different every week. So it's kind of fun from that perspective, because each week you'll be maybe talking about a different brand or a different aspect of that brand's communications. So it's not that intense where you're building each week to make some bold big product at the end. There are 3 textbooks, as I recommended. We refer to them throughout the semester, and of course the readings that I mentioned, those weekly readings and articles. So there is a lot of reading, but it's not as intense as some of the other courses.
So maybe an extension of that last answer. What does a student need to do in IMC 621 in order to be successful?
I think, again, it's in the name, current topics, staying current and keeping up with those readings, and going out and finding their own readings and things to bring to the discussion board. I think that's going to be really helpful. I know when I taught it in 2020, the idea of TikTok came up a lot and how brands were using that. And students kept bringing that up over and over. So students going out and finding what they find to be current and what they're experiencing and bringing that to the class is a great way to be successful here.
Great. So a little bit more about you as an instructor. So what is your personal teaching style, and how do you meaningfully engage with students in your courses?
I typically will have a couple of Zoom sessions just so that we can meet face to face. I find that's helpful, and it sort of brings a little bit of community to the course. Of course, this course will ideally have an in-person component as well. My teaching style is really similar to my mentoring style. I do mentoring both through the WVU program that we have here, as well as with the American Marketing Association. So I like to bring those qualities to my teaching and really sort of foster students along and not so much grade them and just give them a grade and hand it off, but the feedback I give, I think, is really important to them. So I like to give a lot of feedback, and I like to sort of nurture and help them and say, you know, if I was doing this, here's something I would consider, and kind of be empathetic and look at it through those eyes.
Great. So what do you think defines you as an instructor?
Wow, that's a good question. I think patience and listening skills are very important as an instructor, especially in an online program, because we never know what students are going through, because we're not there with them day to day, sitting in a classroom. So being able to listen, sort of read between the lines, and have a good sense for what they're going through as they turn in the assignments, I think is an important thing.
And so what has been your favorite aspect of teaching in WVU's online marketing communications graduate programs?
I think it's watching the students sort of go through their challenges, and then that big sigh of relief they have at the end, and a sense of accomplishment that they have, and to know that I was a part of that. It's so great to see them sort of have the challenges and go through these hurdles, which are part of learning. But then when they get to the other side, they're like, oh, now I get it. Now I see why that was difficult. And that's really, really rewarding.
Great. Well, David, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and hopes for the 621 course in 22, and hopefully we'll see you here at on campus at Integrate. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chad.